McManus, may I see you in my office for a moment, please?
Of course, sir. Can I take 10 minutes and finish that report that you wanted? I've got to check some things.
That's not necessary. You can turn it in later.
Shall I bring anything?
No. Let's talk now. You don't have to bring anything. We can get through this very quickly. McManus, may I see you in my office for a moment, please?
Of course, sir. Can I take 10 minutes and finish that report that you wanted? I've got to check some things.
That's not necessary. You can turn it in later.
Shall I bring anything?
No. Let's talk now. You don't have to bring anything. We can get through this very quickly. McManus, may I see you in my office for a moment, please?
Of course, sir. Can I take 10 minutes and finish that report that you wanted? I've got to check some things.
That's not necessary. You can turn it in later.
Shall I bring anything?
No. Let's talk now. You don't have to bring anything. We can get through this very quickly.
McManus, may I see you in my office for a moment? Can I take 10 minutes to finish up that report you wanted? That's not necessary. You can turn it in later. Must I bring anything? No. You don't have to bring anything.
What did you want to talk with me about, sir?
Well,
Now, we had discussed adding the new section on the municipal building next month, didn't we?
Yes.
And we had agreed to postpone the work on the Forbes project until after the October deadline, didn't we?
Yes, I believe so, John.
And the plans for the Wharf project don't need to be in until next week, do they?
No, John, they don't have to be until next week. What do you think of the L.A. Rogers? Exciting season, isn't it? Did you know that Mark McIntosh may break the home run record this afternoon?
Oh, yeah! What did you want to talk with me about, sir?
Well,
Now, we had discussed adding the new section on the municipal building next month, didn't we?
Yes.
And we had agreed to postpone the work on the Forbes project until after the October deadline, didn't we?
Yes, I believe so, John.
And the plans for the Wharf project don't need to be in until next week, do they?
No, John, they don't have to be until next week. What do you think of the L.A. Rogers? Exciting season, isn't it? Did you know that Mark McIntosh may break the home run record this afternoon?
Oh, yeah! What did you want to talk with me about, sir?
Well,
Now, we had discussed adding the new section on the municipal building next month, didn't we?
Yes.
And we had agreed to postpone the work on the Forbes project until after the October deadline, didn't we?
Yes, I believe so, John.
And the plans for the Wharf project don't need to be in until next week, do they?
No, John, they don't have to be until next week. What do you think of the L.A. Rogers? Exciting season, isn't it? Did you know that Mark McIntosh may break the home run record this afternoon?
Oh, yeah!
And we agreed to postpone the work on the Forbes project until after the October deadline, didn't we? Yes, I believe so, John. And the plans for the wharf project don't need to be in till next week, do they? No, John, they don't have to be in till next week. What do you think of the L.A. Rogers? Exciting season, isn't it? Did you know that Mark McIntosh may break the home run record this afternoon? Oh, yeah?
In fact, I'm considering listening to the game on the radio right here this afternoon. I can put off my appointments for a couple of hours.
You're the boss, sir.
Yes, I am, aren't I?
Of course, I really must work this afternoon, mustn't I?
John, that's an excellent idea.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
In fact, I'm considering listening to the game on the radio right here this afternoon. I can put off my appointments for a couple of hours.
You're the boss, sir.
Yes, I am, aren't I?
Of course, I really must work this afternoon, mustn't I?
John, that's an excellent idea.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
In fact, I'm considering listening to the game on the radio right here this afternoon. I can put off my appointments for a couple of hours.
You're the boss, sir.
Yes, I am, aren't I?
Of course, I really must work this afternoon, mustn't I?
John, that's an excellent idea.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
I'm considering listening to the game on the radio this afternoon. You're the boss, sir. Yes, I am, aren't I? Of course, I really must work this afternoon, mustn't I? John, I think that's an excellent idea. Yes, it is, isn't it? Oh, hi. Welcome back to the classroom. Today, in Book Unit 10, we are going to review some of the lessons we learned in Units 1 through 10. Let's take a look. First, number 1, we are going to review the past tense of the verb to be. 2, we are going to review the simple past tense. And 3, we are going to review tag questions. We learned about tag questions in Unit 5, didn't we? There's a tag question using the simple past tense. But now, let's start with the past of to be. Let's practice the past of to be in the affirmative. You tell me, I was. You were. He was. She. She was. It. It was. We. We were. You. You were. They. They were. Very good. And now, how about the negatives? Let's practice, okay? I was not. Next. You were not. Next. He was not. She was not. It was not. We were not. You were not. They were not. Very good. Now, of course, with the negatives come negative contractions. We've just seen that we dropped the O in not to make I wasn't. You were not. We dropped the O to make you weren't. He was not becomes he wasn't. She was not. She wasn't. It was not. It wasn't. We were not. We weren't. You were not. You weren't. They were not. They weren't. Now you try. Let's practice the negative contractions. Are you ready? Start with I. I wasn't. You weren't. He wasn't. She wasn't. It wasn't. We weren't. You weren't. They weren't. Very good. Now, let's review the way we form the interrogative by inverting the verb to be and the subject pronoun. Ready? I was. To make a question, we say, was I? You were? Were you? He was? Was he? She was? Was she? Was it? Were we? Were you? Were they? Now let's practice. You tell me. To make a question, past tense of to be, with the subject pronoun I. Was I? Were you? Was he? Was she? Was it? Were we? Were you? Were they? Good. Now, we're going to try some exercises with the past of to be. Ready? To start out, we'll practice short answers. Look at the picture. Now, our question, was Clayton at the doctor's office? No, he was not. Make that same statement, no, he was not, with a negative contraction, please. Did you say, no, he wasn't? That is correct. Now, we're going to ask a question that's answered yes. Was Clayton at the dentist's? The answer? Yes, he was. Very good. That's our model. Now, let's try some more. Okay. Was Julie at the bookstore? She's telling us. No, she wasn't. Was she at her lawyer's? She's saying, yes, she was. Were they at work yesterday? Short answer is, no, they weren't. Were they at the beach? Yes, they were. Was he at the factory last week? No, he wasn't. Was he on vacation? Yes, he was. Now, was I at the office yesterday? No, you weren't. That, of course, is what you say to me. I ask you, was I at the office yesterday? You say, no, teacher, you weren't. Was I at LEI? You tell me, yes, you were. Was David in his kitchen at 1 o'clock? Looks like at 1 o'clock, David was not in his kitchen. No, he wasn't. Was he at school? Yes, he was. Now, let's make negative and affirmative statements. First, we'll make the negative statement, and then, of course, the affirmative statement. First, look at the picture. Was he in Italy or France last year? That's a picture of Italy, so we know that the negative statement is going to be about France. Okay? He wasn't in France last year. The affirmative statement is going to be, he was in Italy. With negative contractions, of course, we would say, he wasn't in France last year, he was in Italy. Let's try another one. Okay. Was he in the bath or in bed? The check mark tells us the affirmative answer. So the negative is, he wasn't in the bath. Good. He was in bed. Okay? Were they at the bank or the barber's? Take a look where the check mark is. Where it isn't, give me the negative statement now. They weren't at the barber's. Positive statement, the affirmative statement is, they were at the bank. Was I at the bank or the barber's? Use you. Let me hear you. You weren't at the bank. Affirmative statement. You were at the barber's. Now, how would I answer? How do I answer my own question there? Was I at the bank or the barber's? I say, I wasn't at the bank. I was at the barber's. Okay? Was it Italian or French wine? The map is France, so the negative answer is going to be it wasn't Italian wine. Affirmative answer? It was French wine. Now, let's practice asking questions. Look at the picture. Now, I'm going to give you a statement. Turn this statement into a question. Make a question, ask a question, based on this affirmative statement. He was in Italy last year. As a question, we say, was he in Italy last year? The next one. Okay, look at the pictures. First of all, he was at the beach. Make it into a question. Was he at the beach? Now, give me the answer, please. Question, was he at the beach? Answer, yes, he was. Make the next statement, she was at school, into a question. Now, was she at school? The answer is yes, she was. Now, they were at the bank. Question? Were they at the bank? Answer? Yes, they were. The long answer would be yes, they were at the bank. Now, let's try this one more time. It was French wine. Ask the question. Was it French wine? Answer, yes, it was. Question, she was in Italy last year. The question is, was she in Italy last year? Yes, she was. I was in the classroom yesterday. Question? Were you in the classroom yesterday? My answer is yes, I was. And I am in the classroom today also, or two. Now, let's move on to the simple past. First of all, I want to remind you that regular verbs in the past tense end in what two letters? Do you remember? Regular past verbs end in ed, ed. Let's review some of those regular verbs and pay attention to the subtle differences in pronunciation. First of all, the verbs themselves: work, like, type, rain, call, play, want, need. And then we add ed: worked, liked, typed, rained, called, played, wanted, needed. Did you hear that? Worked. The ending sound is t, t. Liked. The ending sound is t, t. Typed. T, t. But rained, called, played. And if the verb, the primary verb, ends with a T, like want, or a D, like need, we have that id sound, almost as if it was ID. Wanted, needed. Okay? Listen carefully to those as you hear me and other English speakers speak. Okay, now let's practice some of the affirmative. Now, first of all, actually, let me remind you of what the affirmative verbs are like. I worked, you worked, he worked, she worked, it worked, we worked, you worked, they worked. Very easy, isn't it? Now, let's practice. First of all, using work, I worked, you worked, he worked, she worked, it worked, we worked, you worked, they worked. And of course, it's the same for each one of those verbs. I played, you played, he played, she played. I needed, you needed, he needed, she needed, and so on. Now, how about for negative? For negatives, we use what? The past tense of the helper verb do. The past tense is what? Did, plus what's our negative word? Not. Did not. This, I worked, in the negative would be I did not work. You did not work. Drop that ed, right? X out the ed and add did not. He did not work. She did not work. It did not work. We did not work. You did not work. And they did not work. Now, let's practice these. First of all, for work, I. Tell me. Negative. I did not work. You did not work. He did not work. She did not work. It did not work. We did not work. You did not work. They did not work. And of course, we make negative contractions with the did nots by dropping what? The O in not. So, I didn't work. You did not work becomes you didn't work. He didn't work. She didn't work. It did not work becomes it didn't work. We didn't work. You didn't work. They didn't work. Okay? Now, you tell me. Let's practice these negative contractions. Right, I didn't work. You didn't work. He didn't work. Short I sound. She didn't work. It didn't work. We didn't work. You hear those D's and T's in there. Didn't. You didn't work. They didn't work. Good. Now, interrogatives. In this case, we're going to invert the past of do and make did I? And of course, did you, did he, did she, all of it. So, I worked becomes did I work? Did you work? Did he work? Did she work? Did it work? Somebody might say, we worked last week, honey. Didn't we? Did we work last week? Did you work last week? Did they work? Okay, now let's practice these interrogatives. Give me the interrogative for first person singular, I, with work, of course. Did I work? Did you work? Did he work? Did she work? Did it work? Did we work? Did you work? Did they work? Got that? Let's see. Let's try the exercises. Okay, first I want you to look at the picture, right? And tell me what's the past participle is called. What's the past tense of look? Put the verb in the past tense, in other words, right? Yes. Looked with that t sound. Oh, what's the past tense of look? Looked. How about type? Typed. How about walk? The baby walked yesterday. How about watch? Watched. The girl watched TV too late last night. Now, what's she doing? Oh, yesterday she danced. And he worked. He worked construction. How about today I asked, yesterday I asked. And yesterday, last night, after their date, they kissed goodnight. Notice all the words that we've said so far, all of these past tense verbs end in that t sound, right? Now let's take a look at some of the ones that end with the d sound. Last Sunday, I blank my mother. I called my mother. How about rain? It rained all last week. We listened to the radio. And play, the basketball player played a good game. Okay? Called, rained, listened, played. You hear that? And how about this? The baby blank all night. Past tense. The baby cried all night. And notice how we changed that Y to an I and added the ED. Ends in a consonant and a Y. The baby cried all night with an I. And what else did the baby do yesterday? He crawled. And I closed the door. Cried, crawled, closed. And with my pencil, today I erase the mark. Yesterday I erased the mark. Erased. So it's actually more of a T, isn't it? Probably shouldn't have been on that list. Now, how about the verbs that end in T or D? I counted my money. I pointed at you. She waited for her egg to boil, to cook. And the end, the play blank, happily. Ended happily. Counted, pointed, waited, ended. Okay? Now, look at the pictures and answer the question using short answers. Okay? The question is, did the baby cry? Now, let's see what the answer is. Oh, we find out no to the crying, right? So, the answer, did the baby cry? No, he didn't. But did the baby walk? We can see he is, so yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Let's try some of these. Okay. Did they listen to music? Up, radio's out. So the answer is no, they didn't. Did they play music? Yes, they did. Notice the verb play is used for play music as well as, Clayton and Kelsey played with their toys. It's also used for what? Sports, as in, did he play basketball? Answer. Did he play basketball? No, he didn't. Did he play baseball? Yes, he did. Did the sun shine? No, it didn't. Oh, excuse me. Oh, there, that's better. No, it didn't. Did it rain? Yes, it did. Phew, that's better. Did they kiss? No, they didn't. Did they dance? Yes, they did. Did a cat cross the road? No, it didn't. Animals, we often use it, don't we? Did the dog cross the road? Yes, it did. But did David hit the dog? No, he didn't. Did David have an accident? Yes, he did. Now, look at the pictures, answer the question using first negative and then affirmative statements. Did the baby cry or walk? We can see from the picture that the baby did not cry, right? He didn't cry. Then the simple past, he walked. So in the first statement, we're going to need to use the negative contraction, and in the second statement, the simple past, right? He didn't cry, he walked. Let's take a look at the next one. Did he want to take a bath or a shower? We can see not a shower, so you're going to have two verbs in here, right? He didn't want to take a shower. If you count our helper verb did or didn't, then we have three verbs, don't we? He didn't want, and the infinitive, to take a shower. He, simple past, affirmative. He wanted to take a bath. He didn't want to take a shower. He wanted to take a bath. You're on your own for the next one. Okay? Did they play baseball or go fishing? Fishing, no. So, they didn't go fishing. Affirmative statement, simple past. They played baseball. Did she play tennis or basketball? She didn't play basketball. She played tennis. Did he want to watch TV or listen to the radio? The radio's the no. Careful here. Right. He didn't want to listen to the radio. In Book 3, we'll talk about using words like want or enjoy and what we put after them. But for now, just notice, he didn't want to listen to the radio. Now, the affirmative past, he wanted to watch TV. Now, did you talk to David or Donna? Not David. Answer in the first person, please. I didn't talk to David. I talked to Donna. Now, look at the picture, ask a question. So you're going to have to turn the sentence, the baby cried, into its interrogative form, which of course is going to mean eliminating that ed and adding the inversion of that helper verb, did. Did the baby cry? Here you notice that the subject of our sentence is not a subject pronoun. It is a regular noun, the baby. Did the baby cry? And what's the answer? Yes, he did. The dog crossed the street. Question? Start with the past tense of do. Did the dog cross the street? They danced together. Question? Did they dance together? I closed the door. Make it into a question. Ask me, right? Did you close the door? Get rid of the X over that ED just to remind you that we eliminate that ED before we make a sentence or a question in the past. Did you close the door? I turned on the light. Make that into a question. Ask me. My answer is, I turned on the light. What is your question? Teacher, did you turn on the light? See, and my answer, I turned on the light. Let's try another one of those. The train arrived late. Make it into a question. Did the train arrive late? Now, we are now going to review tag questions, aren't we? Some of the tag questions that, the sentences using tag questions that we already know are, it's fun to learn English course, to learn English with this video course, isn't it? The tag question is, isn't it? You are learning a lot, aren't you? Tag question, aren't you? We learn many new things with each lesson, don't we? Today, our lesson is about tag questions, isn't it? Ah, yes. Remember when Donna wants Kelsey to take her medicine? She wants yeses from Kelsey because she wants Kelsey to say, yes, I will take my medicine, Mommy. So what are the questions that she asks Kelsey? You want to feel better, don't you? You want to go back to school and see your friends, don't you? Then you must take your medicine, mustn't you? What can Kelsey say but, okay, Mommy? Now, do you remember when David goes to the car salesman, and the car salesman says, it's a beauty, isn't it? You like fast cars, don't you? It's comfortable, isn't it? What can David say? Yes, sir. Salespeople like to use tag questions because they want us to say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Listen for that. Tag questions aren't difficult, are they? You don't think they're difficult, do you? You are learning a lot, aren't you? Our lesson is about tag questions, isn't it? Now, what do you notice when you look closer at these sentences? You notice that these two sentences, tag questions aren't difficult and you don't think they're difficult, are both phrased as negative statements, aren't and don't. The tag questions themselves are affirmative. Are they? Do you? Tag questions aren't difficult, are they? You don't think they're difficult, do you? If the stem sentence, tag questions aren't difficult, is negative, the tag question itself is affirmative. But with these two sentences, you are learning a lot, aren't you? Sentence is affirmative, tag question is negative. Our lesson is about tag questions, isn't it? The statement, affirmative, the tag question, negative. So, for example, affirmative statement, negative tag question. I know you, don't I? But negative statement, affirmative tag question. I don't know you, do I? Affirmative statement, negative tag question. This is easy, isn't it? But the reverse, this isn't hard, is it? Again, you can do this. We're going to use the negative of what verb? Can. So, you can do this. Can't you? You can't do this, affirmative. Can you? You see? Now, let's practice. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? I want to hear you, don't I? She's not happy today, is she? You are coming to the party, aren't you? You aren't going to that party, are you? You can tell from the way I'm talking, the attitude that is communicated by these tag questions. Sometimes it can be the opposite of what you really mean to say. He doesn't like much sugar in his coffee, does he? That could be because he's put a whole bowl of sugar in his coffee. He doesn't like much sugar in his coffee, does he? When he really does. But of course, it could also be checking to see if maybe he doesn't like much sugar in his coffee. The opposite, he likes a lot of cream in his coffee, doesn't he? Remember, if we're using the simple past, the tag question is going to have to be the helper verb do. It's late, isn't it? She can't play today, can she? You must stop smoking. Mustn't you? You aren't serious. Are you? Now, let's do some more exercises. Here we have the McManuses at home. This is John. Fill in the blank with a tag question. And it's going to have to be what? Negative. This is John, isn't it? But that's not Donna. Is it? Yes, it is. These are John's kids, aren't they? But David's not their uncle. Is he? Yes, he is. Now, remember when David is in the garage with John, he says, "Hey, that's my saw, isn't it?" He knows it's his saw, doesn't he? He's asking a tag question because he wants John to have to say, "You want it back, don't you?" John, about to go to the store, says, "Honey, you don't need any onions." Don't need any onions. Affirmative, do you? Donna says, "Dear, you're not stopping by the post office, are you?" Now, add a tag question to the sentence. He's a doctor. With a tag question, the sentence reads, he's a doctor, isn't he? He's English. He's English, isn't he? Oh, she's upset. Upset. She's upset, isn't she? He can see further with those binoculars. Tag question. Can. He can see further with those binoculars, can't he? He doesn't live there. He doesn't live there, does he? Now, let's practice one more thing, making a sentence with what. Remember, if we have a plural noun, we're going to use the adjective and what. If we have a singular noun, we have to also include the article a or an. These fireworks are sensational, aren't they? What sensational fireworks? Ah, this fruit is really fresh, isn't it? What fresh fruit? That dance is amazing, isn't it? What an amazing dance. We are finished with our review of Book Unit 10. Thanks for joining me here at LEI.